Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. I literally just got home from DC. I landed a little about an hour ago. Got home and saw my lovely wife for the first time since leaving early Sunday morning. And if I look like I'm in zombie mode, it's probably because I've already been up for the last 13 hours since I left DC. Shouldn't say that. I woke up in DC at 3:30 in the morning, so that I was able to catch my flight and get back home. However, I wanted to make sure I jumped on. I know I didn't technically do a January President's video, so sue me. My apologies, but there was really only a little bit of news in January, and I knew that Day on the Hill was right around the corner, so I figured I'd wait, and I would cover everything in one shot. So, first and foremost, back in January, obviously we had our state board meeting, and I will tell you the one big piece of news that came out of that, the board decided to endorse Steve James for the Sergeant at Arms position on the national board, which will be voted on in Vegas in August. So, congratulations, Brother James. I already notified him, let him know that had happened. He was humbled and honored. And like I told him, I look forward to continuing to work with the guy. If you don't know who Steve James is, I apologize. I should have probably started with that. He is the national trustee out of California. He's one of those guys that he just kind of soaks it all in, but then when it's time that he needs to chime in, he chimes in, and he chimes in strong. So I look forward to him being on our national board. I think he's going to be a great addition, and hopefully, so far there hasn't been anybody else who says they're going to run against him. So hopefully that holds. I think it'll make our board even stronger than it currently is. So moving on. So I flew out to Washington, D.C. on Sunday for Day on the Hill. We had a briefing on Monday afternoon where they just gave us the rundown. Jim Pasco gave us his points of view on all the bills, so that we knew what we were talking about when we went to walk into our meetings with our Congress representatives and our senators. So that was Monday afternoon. Sorry, man. Planes, they drain you, right? Like, I don't get it. I didn't do anything. I sat there and watched horrible movies for free on Southwest, and I feel like I ran a marathon. Whew. All right. So, anyways, Justin Thornton and I, Justin came out and met me there, and Tuesday and Wednesday we spent all day on the Hill speaking with our representatives. So let me grab my phone real quick so I make sure I get the order correct, because I probably won't remember it right now. All right, so Tuesday, our first meeting was with Congressman Schweikert. If you don't know, Congressman Schweikert has been a pretty strong supporter of our FOP legislative priorities, and nothing changed in this meeting. He was receptive. He definitely is on board with most of what we discussed. There's some, I'll go through all the things that we did once I give you the rundown on the meetings. I'll tell you what our legislative priorities are. But he had a couple questions here and there, but I'm relatively certain we can count on his vote for basically everything we do. After him, we met with Congresswoman Lesko. Unfortunately, she has been assigned to a couple of new committees that happened to have. Our meeting was set before she got assigned those committees, and of course, our meeting got bumped in priority. She was stuck in those meetings. There's no, once you're on a committee in Congress, there's no just walking out of those to come meet with the FOP. But we did meet with her legislative representative, and he was extremely receptive, asked a lot of great questions, and some of the stuff that he wasn't aware of, he was happy to hear about it, and he's happy to pass it on to Congresswoman Lesko, who has always been a pretty strong supporter of ours as well. After that, we went and met with newly elected, so freshman Congressman Juan Ciscomani. If you guys have not listened to this guy speak, you're not sure who I'm talking about, I would encourage you, jump on his Facebook page, look him up, just listen to him talk. This guy is, he could be around for a while, quite honestly, for the Republican Party. He is a go-getter. He's a mover. He's a shaker. And, boy, and as proof of that, Justin and I were only in his office for actually speaking to him for maybe 15 minutes before he was swept off onto the next great thing. And let me tell you something else about Congressman Ciscomani. We reached out to him a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, we had a brother member from the DOC that was killed out of country, and there was a issue that came up where they were trying to bring the remains back to the United States, and the country was not going to release them without full payment of whatever costs they believed they were owed. We reached out to Congressman Ciscomani, and not only did the problem get resolved, but Congressman Ciscomani himself took it upon himself to pick up his phone and call the widow and speak to her directly. So if by chance, Congressman, or one of your people is watching this video, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. You went above and beyond on that one. You didn't have to do that, and I certainly appreciate it. And I believe it shows not just me, but the membership, the lengths you're willing to go for our people. And so that's a guy that we need to support, and we need to keep helping out as much as we can. So that meeting went well. It was just really fast. I wish we would have got another 15, 20 minutes, but we sent him all the information that we didn't get to actually speak on, and he's going to be on board for what we're trying to get accomplished. And then it was kind of funny, everyone knows who my sister is, and so for me, meeting with congressmen and senators is not like a huge deal to me. I don't look at them, I guess, as everybody else on the planet looks at them. Oh, it's a senator. I'm like, okay, cool. That's Tim Scott from South Carolina. What's up? He's a good dude. So it was funny as Justin and I were working our way through the day, and it was actually Justin that reminded me that before our meeting with Senator Mark Kelly, he's like, I think I'm more excited that I'm meeting an astronaut than a senator. And I was like, holy crap, I totally forgot he was an astronaut. Like, now I'm actually, now I'm a little starstruck. Like, that's cool. It's going to be cool to meet him in person. So that was our next meeting, was with Senator Kelly. Senator Kelly, if you don't remember last year when we did Day on the Hill virtually, Senator Kelly was one of the senators that was not signed on as a co-sponsor to the Social Security Fairness Act. He signed on, I want to say it was 2 or 3 days after we met with him, he signed on as a co-sponsor. It was great for me. I got to send a thank you letter to a senator versus, what are you guys thinking? How can you be trying to pass this law or whatever? So it was a nice breath of fresh air for that. So it was great meeting with him, and he's still on board for much of what we discussed. We actually may have convinced him to be the Democratic lead on the LEOSA Reform Act, and so we'll see if he does it or not. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no, so we'll see what he does then, what he does there. So that killed our whole day for Tuesday. So then Wednesday we went and we met with Congressman Stanton's legal team. Congressman Stanton was a meeting that I was pretty happy that we even got in the door. We really wanted to speak to him. He was the only representative in the state of Arizona that did not sign on as a co-sponsor of the Social Security Fairness Act. So I was really wanting to hear why that was the case and what we could say to make him change his mind. Unfortunately, the congressman was locked up in committees and hearings, and so we spoke to his legal representative, and that guy, he was a really good dude, and he spoke to us for a long time. And it's a good thing we didn't have a lot of meetings on Wednesday, because we might have been late for some of them, because that guy really picked our brains. He threw out some tough questions. But he was very upfront and honest. He told us right off the bat, he's like, hey, I know you guys are going to talk about Social Security fairness. He goes, I want to tell you that even though we didn't co-sponsor it, here's why. And it was just because there was another Social Security reform bill that was out there that was going to, according to them, repair the same things that we want repaired, and that's the one that he co-sponsored. So at the end of the day, I just kind of said, hey, look, as long as he's going to be a yes vote at the end of the day, that's all I'm concerned with. And he assured me that the congressman's a yes vote on the Social Security Fairness Act. So that was good news. And then, of course, last but not least, on Wednesday, mid-afternoon, later in the afternoon, we met with Senator Sinema, who it was kind of I don't want to say a comical meeting, but it was kind of funny because she has signed on to everything one bill that we talked to her about because it hasn't been introduced in the Senate yet, so it's no one really, they know about it but they don't know about it. So, and when I told her about it, she went, "I like it." So she's going to sign on to that one. She is a true champion of ours. I'd like to take some credit for that, but it's just because we write good bills, and we fight the good fight, and that's what she stands for. She reads these bills for herself. She decides whether she thinks it makes sense or not, and that's what she goes with, and that's what I think most people like about her. And there was nothing different when we talked about the national FOP legislative priorities. So let's talk about them with you. I just want to make sure you all are aware of what we told them, what the priorities are for us moving into this new legislative session, and what we're trying to get across to the finish line this go around. The first and foremost, you guys have heard me talk about this for far too long. Trust me, President Yost is as frustrated as anybody else about this. But the Social Security Fairness Act, we're gonna get there. Last session, we had 305 co-sponsors. It's a historic number, but the committee pulled it and made sure that by pulling it, that it wasn't going to make it on the calendar for a vote. It was a little dirty, but a lot disappointing. But hopefully, I will tell you the good news is when the act was introduced just a couple weeks ago, they reintroduced the act at the House, and it immediately had 185 co-sponsors. That's before Day on the Hill. That's just the 185 people that already were like, "Look, man, I've been signed on to this thing forever. I'm signing on again." So that's higher than the number we started last session with. So you got to feel a little bit better about that. I'm cautiously optimistic, like I am. I'll probably say that about 5 more times in this video. I'm cautiously optimistic that we are going to see movement on Social Security Fairness Act this go around. So we'll see how that goes. The next priority for national level was the Law Enforcement Officers Equity Act. Basically what's happened is within the federal law enforcement ranks, there are some classifications, some job classifications that are identical, but they're within different departments. And for some reason, even though they have the identical G rating, because that's how all government G-rated job classification, even though they're the same G rating, they don't get the same benefits. So that's what that act is for, is to try and clean up the federal government's, basically their HR and what they're doing when people are retiring from their whatever their end up being a G-rated whatever at the end of their career. So that's what that one's for. Then perk your ears up, Queen Creek, Gilbert, anybody who isn't currently bargaining with their council. The next one we have is the Public Safety Employee Cooperation Act. Basically what that says is that your council, your mayor, your city manager, they have to at least listen to you. It doesn't, obviously the federal government can't force a local entity to allow bargaining. They can't do that, right? There's all sorts of things that would break. But it will allow you to at least get your foot in the door. So that's a great bill as well. Then the LEOSA Reform Act. This one it's not a gun bill. Okay, that's the first thing. That was our priority to get that across to everybody that we talked to about it. It's not a gun bill. What it is, it's not going to give guns to people who shouldn't have guns. Basically, what it does currently, if you are, in fact, some of you may not know this, if you're currently retired and you fall under LEOSA, and you have your LEOSA qualification, if you go to the post office carrying your firearm, you're technically in violation of federal law. If you go to a national park and carry your firearm, you're in violation of federal law. If you go to your kid's high school football game where it's a gun-free zone, you're in violation of the law. So the LEOSA Reform Act goes in and just closes off those loopholes. There's a couple of other examples, but those are the big ones that we used in talking to our representatives to make sure they understood. We're not trying to give more people guns. We're not trying to change anything about LEOSA. We're just trying to clean up the language so that, like right now, as an active officer, I can go to the post office carrying a gun and it's not an issue. And that was the concept of LEOSA, and everyone we talked to understood that and seemed as if everyone was on board. So I think we're going to be okay there. And that's the one that I specifically said to Senator Kelly. I was like, when they first brought this one up and we started talking about it, and then they said that there was not a Democratic lead on the bill yet, I looked at Justin and I said that would be a great one for Senator Kelly, and he didn't say no. So we'll see what happens there. And then, of course, the Protect and Serve Act. I know you've heard this one. This is the one that will make it. It doesn't make it a federal crime. It makes it a federal crime to target police officers, but it doesn't necessitate that the federal government move in on some sort of targeting issue or an ambush or something like that. It just allows the federal government to come in and file additional charges. If they, say it's some rogue county prosecutor who's like, I'm just going to go with simple aggravated assault, the feds can go, no, time out. This is not a regular aggravated assault. This was an ambush. This was a whatever. We're going to step in and we're going to add charges on the federal level. So that's a good bill for us as well. The last one we talked to him about was, and I was going to look up the whole thing and I totally forgot, but I promise if you Google it, it'll come up and it'll make sense. It's called the HELPER Act, so HELPER. It's a long abbreviation for what the title of the bill is, but it's called the HELPER Act. And what the HELPER Act is, and this is super cool, and this is the one that Senator Sinema, when we were leaving the meeting, of course I was like, I'll see you next time, bye Kirsten, and I was like, Madam Senator. It's hard for me, like I've known her my whole life. But anyways, this is the one that she was like, I like it, like let's get that done. So the HELPER Act, basically what we're doing is we're taking the concept of the VA loan. So my fellow veterans know what that is. When you're buying your first home, the VA comes in and approves. They're like, nope, he's approved. They guarantee your loan for your house. And so we're taking that concept and we're going to apply it to police, fire, teachers, paramedics, all that kind of stuff. So the way I kept explaining this to our representatives is like, not only is this a good idea to help our public servants be able to afford a house, like A, it's a recruiting tool, B, it's a retention tool, and C, it actually allows people to potentially live in their own communities. And Justin did a great job bringing up Sedona, where there's not a police officer in Sedona who lives in Sedona, because are you kidding me? Like, I can't afford to live in Sedona. I can barely afford to live in Tucson. What am I talking about? So the HELPER Act is going to be awesome. Everyone we talked to was actually pretty excited about that one. I will tell you, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't want you to think the HELPER Act is going to pass tomorrow. It's not cheap. There is a financial tag to that. And even though everyone likes the idea, when the price tag is calculated out, we may see some road bumps on that one. So I don't want anyone to be jumping all over the place that we're going to get this thing passed and you can go get a home loan tomorrow. That is not the case. Remember, this is a bill that's kind of in its infancy. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but we'll keep an eye on it. We're going to watch it. We're in support of it. We obviously want it to get through, but the price tag is going to be a question mark, particularly since on the national level for the national government, you see they're already looking at budget. They're already looking at raising the debt ceiling again. So I hope, but I don't want anyone else to get their hopes up. I want us to be realistic about it, and I don't want to go overboard on the HELPER Act. It's a great bill. We'll see what happens with it, but don't go telling everybody you're going to get a free house, because that's not the case at all. Okay? So, moving forward, where are we at? We're like sort of middle of February, beginning of February, whatever it is. I will be back on in March prior to going to the national board meeting, because the national board meeting is actually technically like the last day of March and into April. So I don't want to wait all the way until the middle of April to do another video. So I'll be on sometime in March. Look for me probably towards the board meeting. So somewhere in the 20s of March, I'll jump back on and do another video for you. But I don't want this one to go too long. I'm already at the 20-minute mark. So For those of you up in Phoenix, please be safe this weekend. Super Bowl, I can only imagine the disaster. I'll be at home watching the game. I'm not going to come up there and join in the crowd. So please be careful up there. And I know you guys are going to do a great job with that. For everybody else, I hope you all have a fantastic February. And I look forward to continuing to do good work for you. And I promise you it is a joy of mine, despite being in zombie mode right now. I do love doing this work for you, and I'm proud to do it for you. And I'll be here as long as you'll have me. All right, so with that, I'm going to let you guys go. And thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your help when I've called. Poor Dave Goitia, I blew him up about 6 times this week. I apologize, brother. Hopefully things will calm down a little bit after the Super Bowl's over. So with that, brothers and sisters, stay FOP strong and stay safe out there, please. Like it's kind of nutty. It's kind of dangerous out there right now. Please stay safe and take care of each other, okay? All right, I will see you guys next month. Thank you so much for your time.